Mega Man? Mega Man! Mega Man! Can you hear me?
Just barely. The transmission isn't too clear.
Welcome back to Cartridge Based Radio. I'm Brad, and once again, I am joined by Donald. How's it going?
It's going great.
Oh, always good to hear. You know what? Let's just jump right into it. This is a What Did You Play week, so what did you play?
First, a little housekeeping. I finished Demon Souls.
All right.
It has an ending.
Few have seen it, but...
According to the trophies, you're right. Few have seen it. It's an ending to a story of a game of lackluster bosses, but once again, I like the world. I forgive the bosses, I guess. Not the best Souls game I've played. So, I moved on. I'm still working through Far Cry 3, just so everyone knows. I haven't given up.
Yeah, you gotta keep us posted on that.
I met a lady who said that I was weak, which doesn't fit with my current narrative of liberating the entire island.
No, it does sound like my everyday life, though.
That's a pretty sick burn, Brad.
Yeah, self-burn.
So I met her. I went on a drug trip, which I guess is something you do on islands a lot.
It's something you do in Far Cry games a lot. I'm convinced that the people who make these games have never actually, done any drugs, and then they're just like, ooh, we'll put it in our game, and then we can see what drugs are like. But, they don't actually have a point of reference. But yeah, Far Cry 4 was lousy with, drug levels.
Great to know, because that drug level in Far Cry 3 was unenjoyable.
Yes.
It's like, I want to walk really slow and watch stupid things I don't want to watch.
Oh, God. Did you have to fight people in the drug/dream sequence? And
no, I was walking across an underwater bridge.
Yeah.
And then I found a knife, and then I talked to Dennis, who said that I need to do some work fighting the pirates to gain her favor. And I was like, Dennis, my buddy, they're all dead.
Dennis is such an ordinary name for you're on this exotic island. You meet this guy who's from Liberia, and he's like, hi. He has this awesome accent that I guess is a Liberian accent. And he's just like, my name is Dennis. It's like, I went to a high school with a guy named Dennis. He was pretty cool.
Dennis is awesome in Far Cry 3. I hope nothing bad happens to Dennis, because I'll be terribly sad.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm just going to say if that's your attitude towards a lot of characters in this game, you're just going to end up sad a lot.
That's literally my feelings towards one character in this game that I've met so far. Everyone else, I could kill them and not be sad. So I'm still moving on in Far Cry. It's still fantastic.
Yeah.
But I decided I was going to fire up Lords of the Fallen.
Okay, I've never even heard of Lords of the Fallen, so tell us all about that.
Listeners, I need you to lean real close into your headphones and listen for Brad's eyes crack as he rolls them. Brad, it's a Souls-like.
Why? What is wrong with you? Now you're playing generic Souls?
A lot of people gave it guff for copying the Souls format, but it's gonna happen. The Souls games are, if you count Demon Souls, 9 years old now. So there's people who are being influenced by this. But this is like someone saw Gears of War and saw Dark Souls and said, what if we combine those two and make Super Chunky Dude play Dark Souls? It's not bad. I beat it.
Are you sure it's a Souls game?
It's Souls light. It's it understands how Souls work, but not at the level of Dark Souls understands. The bosses aren't terribly hard. Really cool designs. Kind of a basic story. Not a lot going on there. You play a dude with lots of tattoos on your face. But there's one character in there. He is a blacksmith who sees all points of time at the same time. So he's not quite sure where he's existing at that exact moment. And you have conversations with him that start with the end of the conversation. And then you have to work your way backwards from there. It's kind of fun. I enjoyed it. If you're out of Dark Souls games, give it a spin. So that's what I played.
Well, sounds like you had a pretty good couple of weeks then.
I did. I enjoyed my time with video games. And Dennis.
Good old Dennis, always helping you with the games and stuff. Should be like a little bonus part of Far Cry where you just like hang out and he recommends like games that he played that he liked. And you're like, oh, Dennis, you're so much fun to be around.
I would love to just sit on like a patio of one of those houses in that first town, having a beer with Dennis. He's like, you should be out liberating the island. And it's like, but Dennis, we're having a beer. And he's like, that's right. And you clink bottles and it's awesome.
I think that's why like the invading pirates are still around, is like everybody else on the island is the same way. They're like, yeah, we should deal with that, but we're on this beautiful tropical island and somehow it's not overrun with bugs or poisonous snakes, so let's just hang out, not worry about those evil pirates.
Yeah, everyone just wants to hang with Dennis and his cool jacket.
Dennis is the whole reason that like nothing ever gets done on that island until you show up.
He's like, yeah, we'll do something about that tomorrow. Tonight is Dennis night.
Just like, he like has like some VHS tapes of like old wrestling matches. He's like, do you want to watch WrestleMania 5? And it's like, all right, Dennis, that sounds like a good time.
Have you guys seen the 1984 Queen tour? I have it on VHS.
Aw, Dennis, you're so much fun to be around.
The pirates are just looking from afar and they're like, I wish I could hang with Dennis. The whole opening is just Voss mad that he can't hang with Dennis, and that's why you're in a cage. He heard Dennis thought you were cooler than Voss.
We'll see who's cooler than Voss.
So, that's what I enjoyed these last couple weeks. What did you enjoy?
Well, before we talk about what I played this week, have you ever heard of, it's an economic concept, but it applies to non-economic things. Have you ever heard of the law of diminishing marginal utility?
I've heard of diminishing returns.
Yeah. The two are related, but the basic idea, and this is going to be really simplified,
Wait. It's now time for Economics with Brad.
All right. I'm going to kind of simplify this because the economic concept there's a little bit to it, but the basic idea is that whenever you're consuming something, each additional unit that you consume gives you less. Utility is the economic term, but in general term, you could think of it as like enjoyment. Each one that you take has less enjoyment than the previous one. So like if you were eating ice cream sandwich, the first one's great and you're like, oh man, that was so good, like I'm going to have another one so I can ride that wave again. And then you have the next one and it's not quite as good. And then you have a third one, your stomach just starts to hurt. And then like you try a fourth one out of desperation and it just tastes like garbage. Like that's diminishing marginal utility.
Maybe you should buy better ice cream sandwiches.
Well, the first one's really great. And if you wait a day or so, you're ready for another one. But you can't like locomotive 6 of them all one after another. If you do, like they just keep being less and less enjoyable. The reason I bring that up is that this week I played the Mega Man Legacy Collection, which is Mega Man's 1 through 6. And it is pretty much a textbook case in diminishing marginal utility, with the one exception that Mega Man 2 is better than Mega Man 1. If you play through, and I played through all 6 of these games, like you start out, Mega Man 1's a little rough. It's okay though. And you play through that, and you're like, oh, that was kind of fun. I'll play the next one. Mega Man 2 is incredible. We did a whole episode on it, but it's probably one of the best games ever made.
Also one of our best episodes ever made.
Anyway. Mega Man 3 is also very good. But then you start hitting the diminishing returns. Mega Man 4, not great. Mega Man 5, utterly forgettable. Mega Man 6, I guess I'm just trying to finish off all the Mega Mans at this point because it goes downhill so quickly after 3.
I've had this experience with Mega Man where I exit the comfort of the original trilogy and it's almost like it was phoned in.
Yeah.
Kind of like the guy in charge of it would one day do a Kickstarter for a spiritual successor to Mega Man, and it's utterly garbage.
Well, I can't speak to that.
Oh, I've played it, and if you ever want to speak to that game, I can give you some info on that one.
You've spoken to that game, and it wasn't very pleasant. Yeah, at first I thought that it was maybe just because 2 and 3, and to a lesser extent 1, were the ones that I had when I was younger. When those games were coming out, I think it was like junior high age. So those were the ones that I was familiar with and had played a lot, and I thought that my fondness for the first 3 versus the last 3 was, just familiarity, nostalgia. Trying to play these games objectively these past 2 weeks, like 4, 5, and 6 are just, it's not as good. It's just not, like, the level of effort doesn't seem to be there. The music isn't catchy. The level designs are just kind of phoned in. The bosses are mostly just like rehashes of ones from the first 3. It's like, oh, here's Windman, who's basically Airman, but not somehow.
So you ate those first 3 delicious ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
And then you got that 4th one and your stomach was like, hey, what are you doing? And then by the 6th, you're just on the ground going, why, Mega Man?
And yeah, like that was 5, and then 6, like Mega Man just came up and like forced it into my mouth. I'm like, I don't want it.
You eat this delicious treat. Stop, Mega Man.
The new weapon I got from that robot master, it gives me the ability to force you to play my crummy games.
I don't have any fond memories after 3.
Yeah. 4 was a game that I had. I bought it when it came out, and I remember like not liking it. Going back and playing again, I can see why. It's not as well made. My original plan was going to be to play 1 through 10. 1 through 6 is included on that collection. Then I had access to 7, 8, and I bought 9 and 10. But, after playing 4, 5, and 6, and knowing the previous experiences with 7 weren't all that astounding, I gave up on this little quest. So I'm calling it at 6, and I might go back and play 2 and 3 again.
Was it 9 and 10 like PSN Xbox Live where they tried to make a Mega Man?
Yeah, they did an okay job. One thing that you notice when you play a lot of these consistently within a short time span is when I played 9, I played all the way through and I beat it, but I remember thinking, oh, this game's hard, but so were the original Mega Man games, so this is an appropriate level of difficulty. But having just played 1 through 6, and I did give 9 a little spin, 9 is much harder. It is harder than pretty much any of the other ones, to the point that it's actually a little bit detrimental.
I can't think of a Mega Man game beyond the original trilogy that I have a super fondness for.
Yeah.
There was a Game Boy one I had, but I think it was just 2.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are good, but beyond that. Funny thing about Mega Man 1 is I remember that being a really, really difficult game. And then when I played through it, I didn't have much trouble beating the 6 robot masters. I remember like the stages being impossible and everything. And, I lost a couple of lives, but I never at any point got stuck. And it was actually a lot easier than I remember. And I was thinking, boy, why did I think this game was so hard? And then I did the Wily levels. It's like you get to Wily and the game's like, oh, okay then. It's on now.
Kid gloves coming off. Prepare to be beat in the face.
One other thing that's kind of interesting about the Mega Man Legacy Collection is you can save at any point, because it's running off emulation, so it kind of carries over that feature. And I discovered that the Mega Man games are actually a lot better if they're on kind of like a modern, like, infinite life checkpoint system, like you get, most games today, where it's just like you reach this point, it saves. If you die, it takes you back to that point, and you just keep doing it till you get through it. When you play Mega Man through that way, it's a lot more fun. You get to you can experiment some things that you maybe normally wouldn't try, because in basic Mega Man, you get 3 lives to get through a stage. And it's like, you die once in the stage maybe, then you have 2 lives left, you meet the boss, it takes 1 life to maybe try to figure out what his pattern is and how to beat him, and then you get 1 crack at him, you better not mess it up. And it kind of works, but when I could save right before the boss and fight him an infinite number of times, it gave me a chance to like really figure out like, okay, this is what he does. Instead of me just like running in a blind panic and being like, this is the weapon you're weak to. Please die, please die, please die before I do.
I'm always going to picture that's what Mega Man says as he runs into the room.
It's like that scene in Avengers Age of Ultron where Iron Man is fighting the Hulk and he's just like, please die, please go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Like, that's me playing Mega Man and fighting a boss.
Oh, now the name of that collection is confusing to me because wasn't there some really terrible like PS1 3D games called Mega Man Legacy?
There definitely were some bad PS1 3D games. I'm trying to remember what they were called now.
It was trying to fall into the Mario 64 vein.
Yeah. Mega Man Legends is what those were. So Legends Legacy, yeah, it's easy to get that confused. They put out a collection on PS2 called the Mega Man Anniversary Collection. So too many Mega Man collections running around. Personally, what I think would be awesome is one game where they just take like the best, I don't know, say 30 bosses out of, the 60 or so that are in the series. And it's like instead of fighting 8 bosses, you're doing like all 30 stages. It'd be like, like Mega Man, everybody is in this collection, greatest hits or something.
What if it was just like Mega Man the game?
Like the first one?
No, it's called Mega Man the game.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would be a good title.
And it's just the first 3 games bosses running on the Mega Man 2 engine.
Or on the Super Nintendo engine. They did remasters of the first 3 games for the Genesis. And they redid it in 16-bit graphics, and it looks fantastic.
Cool.
That was called the Wily Wars. Because they just throwing out titles in Mega Man games.
Your diminishing thing also probably could apply to how many times Capcom has re-put out the Mega Man games.
Yeah. Might be time for Capcom to try some new things.
Yeah, they need Mega Man World Warriors Hyper Edition with new fighters and colors.
They're just going to put out like a Street Fighter Omega, and it's just going to be like Mega Man characters. And then eventually Street Fighter characters will show up in later sequels.
I mean, I would actually be pretty down with a Mega Man Street Fighter game.
They made one. It was included in that the PS2 collection. It wasn't good. It was called like the Rockman Fighters or something. It was really bad.
Well, Capcom doesn't know how to do fighting games very well. It's a known fact.
Yeah, it's been established over the decades.
They should have got the Tekken people to make it.
But yeah, that's what I played this week.
Cool. You sound like you had half of fun.
Yeah, I had 1 week of fun and 1 week of going, I guess we're doing this.
Fine, I'll play a Mega Man game. Stupid podcast.
Gyro Man doesn't even have any delicious gyros in his stage. I was very disappointed.
Did he throw, like, weird cash that nobody wants at you?
No, I was like, lamb meat on a kebab, and it did not happen.
Disappointing.
Oh, so that's what I played this week, and if you enjoyed this week's episode, and you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use, Stitcher, iTunes, or any of the other ones. If you want to give us a review, that would be really great. It helps us a lot. And you can do that. The other thing that would really, really help us is if you could tell a friend about us or share this on your social media or do anything you can to get the word of mouth out there. Write it in gasoline in a big field and light it on fire.
Nope. Do not ruin a farmer's livelihood.
For the benefit of the show, though.
Yeah, you just got our listeners into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
Okay, so apparently lighting things on fire is not a good way to promote the show, according to our legal department. But, if you want to steal a car and then, leave it somewhere with, the name of the podcast on a note inside so when the police recover it and return it to the owner of that vehicle, they'll find out about the show. That would be another thing you could
Brad,
do.
what are you doing? That's not a good idea either.
Okay, maybe just tell a friend about the show.
Yeah, because those other two are, liable.
Okay. So don't commit any felonies or even misdemeanors, but do tell a friend about the show.
Yes.
That's all we ask. I will be doing a What Did You Play Again in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, we're going to have another great episode of the main show for you. So stay tuned.
He took his leaden sword in hand.
He can speak.
As can you.